Go Birds! Welcome to Pegwarmers. I'm Kevin, and I'm here to talk about toys. Today we've got a special episode. We have an update about a recent toy show and my haul from that show, as well as a field report filed by Pegwarmers field correspondent John Withers III. So I recently attended JB's toy show. It's in New Holland, Pennsylvania. This is horse and buggy country. And I went out to the fire hall there for a toy show they have, I guess yearly. I don't know if it's twice a year or just once a year. I've been to it several times. It's a smaller show, it's a firehouse show, but it's not necessarily all career vendors. It's not necessarily in the same, segment of PA, New Jersey that I often am visiting. This is actually out, heading towards the center of the state of Pennsylvania instead of heading closer to the border. So sometimes when you get out of your area a little bit, you see some different vendors. It helps increase the possibilities of what you might find. I got to meet up with my friends Rose and Tony from RetroCon. I was going to meet them previously at the show at the New Jersey Armory, the Winter Fever show, which I did an episode about, but they were sick and unable to attend, so I did get to hang out with them, which was awesome, as well as some other friends. Walking around, I head into the hall, went down the first row. The first table had some good stuff and some interesting prices, but I didn't stop because it was the very first table, and I wanted to kind of do a loop. As I went around, I got a smile on my face when I saw this Rocky from Rocky and Bullwinkle bendy figure. I have been paying attention to bendy figures a lot lately. You may have noticed in some of the recent toy shows I've been zeroing in on them a lot lately. There was a table, an 8-foot table or a 6-foot table, I don't even know, a table with just modern Masters of the Universe play sets in their shipper boxes. There was a Snake Mountain and the Eternia set. It was not the most exciting display, because it's just the cardboard, kind of like this one, but it was still neat to see that somebody had them available. I'm not looking for either one of those play sets necessarily, especially above retail prices, but very cool for people that were looking for them. One of the vendors in that first row also had a really nice display of Transformers. I see this vendor at a lot of shows, but I always think that his G1 display is really cool. Somebody had a carded Dino Screamers Jurassic Park Velociraptor. I actually have a Jurassic Park episode from the kind of the first year of Pegwarmers. We actually had a special Jurassic Park guest on for that one, if you haven't seen that episode. The same table had the Jurassic Park figure, also had this cool radio. One side was Skeletor's head, the other side was He-Man's head. It did not have the battery cover, and there was some paint wear on it, so even though it was kind of cool, I did pass up on it. There's a really great dollar dig bin. I'm a sucker for dollar dig bins, and I did get something out of there, and I will show it off in the haul portion of this video. But my biggest regret of the day, I did not ask the price, and so therefore I did not buy the Carmen Sandiego travel kit. This was a kid's roleplay passport for sleuthing and capturing Carmen Sandiego. It had facsimile money from around the world, it had identification in it, and I think some clues. I was a huge fan of Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego, the TV show on PBS as a kid. I loved Where in the USA is Carmen Sandiego on my Macintosh LC computer. We had Where in the World is Carmen Sandiego on computers at school. But Where in the World is a lot harder than Where in the USA, because you gotta know more, right? And you're playing that in elementary school. But what a classic thing. It's just kind of paper ephemera, so it doesn't take a lot of space to store it, but sometimes it's hard to display those kinds of things. But I'm kind of kicking myself for not at least asking how much it was. After I'd done one loop of the firehouse floor was when Rose and Tony got there. Another friend, Paul, mutual friend, was also there around the same time. So then Tony and Paul and I did a lap around the building once or twice, looking at stuff, having conversation about the different things. Then we ended up going out and grabbing lunch. There's a restaurant near there, Yoder's, that has like an Amish or Dutch country buffet kind of thing. famously in that area is the Shady Maple, which is like the smorgasbord, the buffet of all buffets. But we stopped by Yoder's that day. I don't think Shady Maple's open on Sunday, so that wouldn't have been a choice. But it was nice to get to dine and relax and hang out. Before I show off my haul for this video, we are gonna cut to John's field report. John is checking in to talk about some Choose Your Own Adventure books, something he's very passionate about, as well as some compact play sets that he's been very interested in lately.
Hey Pegwarmers, this is John, the North Carolina correspondent again, sitting at my desk working on some comic strips and things for a future issue of a book I'm working on. Also wanted to go through some pickups that I had recently. I haven't been on the show in a while. I had to order these offline. I didn't know this series of Game Boy Color You Decide That on the Adventure books existed until I saw them on a YouTube channel. Somebody was picking them up. And so I wound up having to buy 3 of them, just because I'm kind of a strange completist. These are by Craig Wassell, which I'm pretty sure I've read something else by him, but he wrote all of this series of You Decide on the Adventure Nintendo-themed books. These are aimed at a really young audience. Really small paragraphs, simple vocabulary, set inside of these old Nintendo worlds, which are awesome. They do have a really cool kind of color section in the middle, rather than having illustrations spread throughout. You've got some kind of this color work in the middle, which is kind of nice. I wasn't a huge fan of these because they're aimed at such a young audience, and they just didn't speak to me, but I'm glad I gave them a chance, glad I read them. I'm glad that they're in my collection, even if I don't return to them very often. Besides picking up some game books, I also wanted to highlight a couple toys that are not quite new to me or new to my collection. These came out of my brother's collection. My parents cleaned out the attic, and he didn't want to keep a lot of things. And so I went through it, because the best way to go toy hunting is to go through the stuff you can find in the attic, right? And of course, these are Mighty Max and Mighty Max inspired kind of toys. This one actually appears to all be complete. This one has the little hangy bridge, rope in the back, has both of the figures it came with, has all those great details inside, and I love the details inside of a Mighty Max. These are so wonderful. I've been kind of in a Mighty Max mood lately. Great little figures that you can put in your pocket and take with you. Of course, you have the action figures that open up to have figures and playsets inside of figures, which is wonderful and kind of a neat concept. I was excited a few years ago when Polly Pockets made a comeback. But they're just not the same. They're not the same as the old original Polly Pockets. They're not the same as the old Mighty Max. And most problematic of all, it didn't result in me getting more Mighty Max toys from the big toy company. I don't know if the Polly Pockets underperformed. I don't know what the deal was. I even forgot we had this one. It's just a little toy house Polly Pocket. That's not a compact. That's not a hidden thing. That's just a little tiny dollhouse, which is fun. You can see there, coming from 2018. It's fun, but it's not the same as the old vintage Polly Pockets to me. This is one of my favorites. This shark with the squids inside of it is awesome. If we get him to open up right quick. Of course, this one's missing its two little side. This one's missing its two little side fins. It's missing the 2 squids that make up the side fins here. It does have a Max, which is great. And of course it has the manta ray that folds out of the shark's fin, because I love the way these things are engineered and work together. Also has the bad guy tucked up under here. We can get him to open up and get us to look at him right quick. Lovely details. Great tiny paint apps. In addition to the Mighty Max officials, that generation of 90s was all about the micros. And here's one of my favorite micro sets. This is that, one of those Godzilla sets. Maybe people didn't like the Matthew Broderick Godzilla, but it gave us some cool toys at times. This is one of those sets. This is incomplete. Things you find in the parents' attic. Of course, being a Godzilla It's made so you can knock things over, tear things up, break things with your Godzilla characters or your Mecha Godzilla, the kind of classic forms, which means a lot of these little pieces wind up getting lost over the years. This one has the tower. It's missing the rest of the Hollywood sign. It's missing, I don't know, 4 or 5 other pieces. It does still have a working, functioning elevator, so we kind of bring the Mechagodzilla up a little bit. And there's some neat details, even in the pits and things. We've got some bones down in there. Maybe not quite as cool as a Mighty Max toy, but still a fun little playset that folds up into itself. It looks awesome beside of the Mighty Max kind of lineup. Colorful fun in your pocket. And that brings me back to something I bought from Big Bad Toy Store. Saw it online, and I don't do a lot of impulse buying offline for toys anymore. I'd rather pick things up at toy shops and pick them up discount. But one of the things I wound up with from Big Bad Toy Store, still available, is from a Taiwanese artist, art studio that may have had the Mighty Max International license for a moment, may not now. I'm not completely sure how that worked out. But here we've got the Perrier kind of in that Mighty Max logo from the corner. And this one has the Mighty Hat. This is, I think it's supposed to say, kind of Mighty Max crosses the Mighty Hat. It doesn't quite say that. But the Mighty Hat logo is kind of cool. And we have Max inside of the hat. The hat itself is what's transforming. Tiny little playset like the old key rings. Of course, I'm very fascinated. On the back here, we've got this very Mighty Max inspired comic strip. Love the comic strips on the card backs to give us that story. And already have working in that next character. After Max, we're going to wind up seeing this River Robin character. I don't know why it's not River Rex, but River Robin character. And he'll be in some of the other playsets. The Mega Head that they're advertising here is an unproduced Mighty Max playset that they've now finished up and brought to the public. And then some of their other kind of mid-sized sets. The crocodile and the blood antlers are much bigger than this little guy here. The blood antler sets are very much in keeping with the size of the old original Mighty Max that most of us knew, right? And so if we open this up, then obviously we'll get the little Mighty Max out. This Mighty Max sits in the little feet thing like they often did in the play sets. And when you close that up, the knife that Max is actually holding becomes one of the teeth for the Mighty Hat. So the evil hat kind of taking over and trying to take Max out of the equation and make room for the next character is a gorgeous concept. Just love the narrative element there. It's a really nice little playset. Tiny, small production. I hope that all of the pieces we see inside the hat are clues to what is coming next. A few of those do look like they are used in upcoming products in the toy line. Of course, got the Whirlpool back there. Robin Rover has an entire cast of characters that are very much akin to Norman and Virgil and Skullmaster that are kind of unique and legally distinct, which is nice, and it looks good beside of the original Maxes, right? So we pull out one of the old Max characters. The little new Max looks great beside the old Max, which I'm excited about. Kind of these two guys hanging out together. There's also a lot of variation in the Max over the toy line, but I love Mighty Max. As far as what am I collecting right now, it might be the new Perrier Mighty Max figures and Robin Rover figures. These have excited me more than a lot of toy lines coming out lately. I did turn to eBay to find the missing fins from this one. That still needs to be cleaned up and dusted off a little bit. But I just had 2 squids remaining to make this a complete set. So I turned to eBay for that. I'm completely fine with some of the other Mighty Max toys being incomplete in my collection. I've got enough Maxes, enough little figures that I can have a good time just posing them and just kind of admiring the details. I think I'll be picking up more Mighty Max from toy stores as I go into them in the future. Nothing quite like this on the retail market, or at least the broad retail market, until you get into the niche stuff. I've been enjoying looking at some of the Mighty Max creators out there. Um, there are people that are reproducing old sets. If you look around on Instagram and Facebook groups, there's people that are taking old molds or taking molds of the unproduced sets and redoing them. It's a kind of a neat time to bump into Mighty Max. So, just wanted to pop in, tell you what's going on new in my collection, which has a little bit of Mighty Max in it, and of course, a handful of books, because I'm that correspondent that always brings this classic books to the table when I'm talking about what I'm looking at. And I just want to take a moment and be that roving correspondent for Pegwarmers. So, until next time, see you on the pegs.
John, thanks for that report. I love having you as a field correspondent. It's fun to see what other people are collecting, see what is going on in other parts of the country. I have that Godzilla playset also missing some parts. I bought it at a flea market, maybe a decade ago. I have not collected a whole lot of Mighty Max stuff, despite the fact that I thought the Mighty Max cartoon show was really cool. I think maybe the toys seemed too childish for me when they were out. Like, they were very like little kitty mini figures, and I was kind of past the Micro Machine era. I think they're really cool now. Lots of great details in them, and it's definitely a toy line that I wish I would have taken advantage of back in the day. So you're asking, what did you buy at JB's? Well, it's not a huge haul, but it wasn't a huge show. And I don't mind not always breaking the bank hunting for toys at every show I go to. So I've got some good items here. I think I have good reasons for most of these things. Not too much super impulsy kind of stuff, but, maybe some. First up, my dollar bin dig prize. This purple astronaut alien is from the toy line Construx. It's a building toy that I really liked as a kid. I never had the purple spaceman, despite thinking he was really wicked cool as a kid. He's got like a robot hand and this crazy looking visor. There was also a white astronaut, just a more traditional looking astronaut, but I always just had like the generic guys. There was a guy in like a blue outfit. We actually used him as a villain against the Lego people in my stop motion animated toy show. But I've been looking for the purple guy. I don't think I have him, but I've wanted to have him for a while, so scored him for $1. I think that was a win. So I've been working on my vintage Masters of the Universe collection, trying to get it organized, straightened up, figure out exactly what I'm missing, and get it in the display case that it's designated for next to my Motu Classics. And Stratos is by no means my favorite character. I mean, I like him. I enjoyed him as a kid. He's a flying guy, a flying monkey man, really. But I noticed when I was getting my stuff ready that my Stratos had a broken wing. Like, it doesn't have the strap at the top, so it just sort of flops off his wrist. And that first table that I said had good selection and pretty good prices had a Stratos there who is complete, is in pretty good shape, and he was $5. His rubber band might be a little bit loose, but they're all kind of loose at this point. And so I couldn't pass it up. This may be the reverse colors of mine. Some Stratos have red wings and a blue jetpack, and some have a red backpack and blue wings. I think mine has the red wings. I'll have to check. But I don't really think I need both variants in my collection, and because this one is complete, this might be replacing the one in my collection. Not the mama, not the mama, not the mama! I picked up Baby Sinclair. I had almost all of the Jim Henson's dinosaur figures as a kid, and then I got rid of them at some point, and I liked that show a lot. I thought it was funny. I enjoyed the toys as a kid, and so I've been trying to pick them up, and I don't have Baby, so finally got him. Have any of you guys collecting the NECA dinosaurs? I am so tempted. They did Earl, and they did Baby. They did a variant Earl and a Comic-Con variant Earl. So you can get Earl in his work clothes, and you can get Earl as a superhero. I just would like Earl and Baby, like the rest of the family, because they look so good. The detail's fantastic. But I haven't pulled the trigger. NECA toys are kind of expensive, and I've been saying a lot lately. I've been trying to kind of watch the purse strings a little bit, but they look really cool. My buddy Tony got me this blue Snaggletooth Pez dispenser recently. He texted me. He was at a store, I don't know, some sort of closeout place or something, and said that they had blue Snaggletooth. Did I have him? And I said, you got a second. I ran down here in the basement and checked my shelf. I have a bunch of Pez dispensers, but they're not on display. But I knew that for some reason I had Snaggletooth Pez dispensers with my Snaggletooth vintage Star Wars collection. I kind of collect the red Snaggletooths when I find them because I love blue Snaggletooth. But you don't find him a lot cheap to army build. So anyway, I looked, and it was the red one, so I was like, yes, I would love the blue one. So he bought it for me and gifted it to me at the show. So that's another fun thing. I will have to put this over there with the other one. A friend of mine, Chris Lamont, Gorilla Boys Toys, as he goes by on social media, is a vendor. I see him at lots of shows. He's the one that actually pressured me into coming to this show. When I saw him at the Winter Fever show, he was bugging me, was I going to come to JB's? And he told me he had some movie-themed toys for me, because I've been kind of telling him some stuff that I would like to do episodes with Tony from Hack the Movies about. And I mentioned Shrek to him, because Tony just recently did a Shrek episode. I got 2 Shreks. They're very similar, but they're different scales. Shrek with his helmet on from Saving Fiona. The one comes with a little baby donkey dragon. The one has a broken sword, the other one has a complete sword. And the one's visor is articulated while the other one's is not. So one's more of a PVC while the other one's a little bit more of a figure. And he also found a Men in Black figure for me. Because I said that I am looking for Men in Black stuff. I recently bought some Hook figures off of him and some other things. You never quite know when we'll get around to doing those kind of episodes. But I do keep my eyes peeled for toys that might work for those kind of episodes. I bought a cello case. Now, if you're a fan of Hasbro's Cops and Crooks line, you know this is Button McBoom Boom's cello case that he keeps his gun inside. This one had the wrong gun in it. I don't actually need the cello case, but the vendor was selling these together, and he did admit that he thought it might be the wrong gun. So I've got a spare cello case, but he had Bulletproof's gun, the leader of the good guys. It has the cap firing feature built into the front there. And I am 99% sure I don't have Bulletproof's gun, so I had to pick it up, because this is a line I would love to complete. My favorite purchase of the day, I don't know if I can get it to work. The vendor told me he couldn't get it to work, but it didn't mean that I couldn't, right? I might be able to change the batteries, I might be able to clean contacts, we'll see. Is a Monster in My Pocket howler. This is a little, basically, statue of Frankenstein's monster, or the monster as they call him in Monster in My Pocket. And if you push the button on the bottom or press him down, he should make a horrible howling noise. I have the Swamp Monster howler also. I don't know exactly how many of these they made. I never saw them as a kid, but they were advertised on the back of the package for the minifigures. And a lot of collectors only really collect the minifigures from the line, because there's a lot of like little rubber guy collectors out there. And so some of these ancillary things maybe get left behind a little bit more. But these are pretty rare, and so I'm excited to have a second one in my collection, and we'll see if I can get it to work at some point. In the comments down below, let me know what your favorite thing is I picked up, or what the coolest thing was you saw in the footage from the show that I missed. Show some love to John in the comments down below. I'm sure he'll be checking in on the comments. Do me a favor, hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't done so. If you want to support the channel further, consider joining us on Patreon. But most of all, thanks for hanging on the peg with me.